this is Kyle Crawford from Strong Dads. Strong Dads wants to thank Crimer Beer House for sponsoring today's Strong Dads podcast. The beer house was started in 1982 by the Crimer family. Since that time, they have become a Cincinnati favorite. If you're looking for an incredible meal and an incredible setting, you have to try Crimer's Beer House down on Route 128 in Cleves, Ohio. All right. Hey, guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Strong Dads here with Merle. And I think we got a pretty good show today. I think it'll be fun.
You think? What kind of talk is that? Like, well, maybe we have a good show. I don't know.
I think because the title of our show is something that I think you probably said back in when you were like a teenager. So
why do I hang around? Why do I put myself through this? The tail wagging the dog.
I've heard of it, but it's not like a common terminology.
What kind of terminology do you guys? Does the millennial generation use?
See, that's an insult. You call me a millennial. That's like the biggest insult someone could call me is call me a millennial.
That's funny. You know, my millennial sons, my older sons, they feel the same way. I'm like, well, then you guys have to do something to change it.
We got to change we got to change our generation. We got to fix it.
Well, actually, here's the sad part. My generation created your generation.
Well, that
so
is
actually,
true.
we need.
Yeah, it's your fault. That's the typical millennial thing to blame it on somebody.
That's right.
It's somebody else's fault.
You know what? That's a strong dad comment right there. That's good. You just step up and just blame it on me.
It can't be our fault. We would never do anything like that.
Yeah. Let me give you another lollipop, little one, so you get what you want. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is going to be a good show. It's going to be a good show, mostly because I think every show we do, we always feel like we're really kind of talking to ourselves.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
How we kind of get lost in the weeds on different things, you know, how our faith sometimes wavers or it's not as strong as we'd like it to be, or we fall short. And is your tail wagging you is really kind of what we're talking about. The idea of is your brain and your heart leading you in terms of how you're pursuing life, how you're living life, what's important to you? Or are all the other little things, you know, the tail end, is that the thing that is so influential and strong that it kind of determines where your head's going? And eventually that's exhausting, you know.
Yeah.
You eventually see that tail and that dog as the dog is chasing that tail in a circle.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, yeah, that's a really entertaining thing there, doggy. How long are you going to do that?
You know, that as you're sitting here talking about that, it just made me think yesterday, you know, as we're recording this show on a Thursday. So yesterday I got, for my detached garage I'm building, I had a bunch of construction workers over and my dog was out. And the funny thing is they sat there and were like, wouldn't it be nice just to sit around and do nothing and just wag your tail all day? And then literally my dog did nothing yesterday besides wag his tail at a bunch of people. And last night he was beat. He was out. He did nothing all day besides wag his tail.
Wag one more time. No,
he did nothing. He wagged his tail all day, and he comes in and he's just out. He was out cold. So I just kind of made me think of that when you said that. So that goes right into our show today.
Yeah. Well, you've now convinced me that I no longer want to be a man. I want to be a dog. We better bring this back around. So the whole idea is, you know, what are we chasing? What gives us direction? Mm-hmm. And you know, I'm going to get into this a little bit more later just because of the men that I actually work with within my day-to-day work. You know, the truth is a lot of times we are totally distracted. Yeah. And we start to throw our hands up with, really, is this what it's all about? Is this really what I'm dumping energy into? And there's this total dissatisfaction that seems to creep in. And what's deceiving is, when I was 30, it was called excitement, and when I'm 50, it's dissatisfaction. Yeah. How did it turn from being fun and exciting and inspiring to being just flat? And so we're going to kind of get into that a little bit and see, you know, are you guys out there as strong dads, are you finding yourself falling into that? And if you are, what are some things that you can do early on to help you not fall into that trap? So hopefully some good conversation here.
I think it'll be a good show. Definitely, we want to thank our sponsors before we get into too much into the show. So Definitely today's Strong Days podcast, we'd love to thank the Mansfield Insurance Agency in Bright, Indiana for coming alongside of us. The Mansfield Insurance Agency was established in 1981, and they are dedicated to the individuals and businesses in Bright, Indiana, and they serve through all the clients throughout Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky. So definitely for all your insurance needs, check them out.
All right, very good. So Strong Dads also wants to thank Crimer's Beer House for being one of the proud sponsors of the Strong Dads podcast. The Beer House was started in 1982 by the Crimer family, and since that time, they've become a Cincinnati favorite. If you're looking for an incredible meal in an incredible setting, you have to try Crimer's Beer House, located on Route 128 in Cleves, Ohio. We're about due for a Crimer Beer House.
We got to stop. Yeah, we got to stop back in there.
We're about due. I know
sure.
He's definitely had some turbulent times down there with this COVID and with employees and things. So, Mark, we're coming your way.
Yeah, they got that big outdoor seating down there. We should definitely go down there. I like it. Sounds good. Go ahead. You started off.
All right. So let's kind of form this up a little bit. The idea of is the tail wagging you? Is the tail wagging the dog?
Yep.
How do you know that? I think one of the things that I find for myself and for a lot of men that I work with, especially even us guys who call ourselves, Christians or faith is important. We have to concede of how much we allow the world to really determine a lot of what we think is important.
Yeah.
And we like to say, well, my faith is strong, and no, I stand up against the world. And I'm just going to say, for me, I'm aware, but I don't always stand up against it very well. Yeah. And I would say with a lot of the men that I see that come in for help, the world is a huge influencer. To the point where many times it just dictates. To give you examples, I'll look at how men spend money.
Yep.
I'll look at how they spend time. I'll look at their schedules. They're driving all over to kids' sports and activities and doing different things, or where the family's just totally, broken and split, and they're running just crazy. Pornography.
Yeah.
Is huge. There's not a week that goes by where I'm not dealing with some issue with pornography with men. So there's just a lot of external forces created by our world, our worldly view, that distract us. And I at the top of the show there a little bit ago, I talked about, when I'm younger, it does seem like it could be exciting or fun, right? When I'm chasing to buy that new truck or whatever, it's like,
first car,
Oh yeah, I got a picture of that puppy hanging up, or whatever, and you can get excitement from it. It's a big dopamine grab.
Oh,
that's a feel good.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you own the vehicle for a few years. I can't even tell you how many guys I know who bought a boat. And they always say the two best days of a guy who bought a boat, the day you bought it and the day you sell it. And it's like, oh, yeah, why is that?
Yeah.
And if our life is filled with those sort of things, the excitement and then the letdown, eventually, and this is kind of why they come to me later, they're in their 40s and 50s and 60s, and they're going, man, is this all there is?
Yeah.
Is this what it's about? I just feel like I've been spinning my wheels. And that doesn't mean they didn't have great stuff in their life. It just means that they feel like a lot of it was all for less than a good reason.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where the mindset goes when we were putting this show together.
Yeah, and I think this show, you had written the idea, 30 to 50 years old is kind of that target range where a lot of this idea of the tail wagging the actual dog, I really think definitely comes true. When you were talking about is this all that there is in life? Reminded me, there's a 60 Minutes interview that they did with Tom Brady, and I mean, Tom Brady is a household name. Everyone knows who Tom Brady is. And Tom Brady goes on, after he's won X amount of Super Bowls and he's MVP, he's considered the greatest of all time in some regards when it comes to being an NFL player. And in this
to those of you who don't like him.
Yeah, exactly. And in this interview, Tom Brady made the comment, is this all that there is?
Yeah.
And man, what a powerful statement, because
coming from him.
Someone who has seemingly has everything. He's got a supermodel wife. He's got kids, Super Bowl champ. I mean, he's making millions of dollars. And for someone like that to say, I hope this isn't all that there is.
Yeah.
To me, that was a powerful statement, because he's absolutely correct, because I think he got stuck in the grind every single day, waking up, doing the same thing every day, and getting caught up in. And again, he is someone that if you look into, man, he lives, eats, and breathes his career.
Yeah.
Which is good in some regards, but there's got to be that balance. We talk all the time, what is the cost of that?
Right.
And for Tom Brady, I think he got to the realization, it was just like, man, my life is not fulfilling right now. There's nothing in my life that excites me anymore. You could just tell his demeanor when he said that. And obviously I'm not Tom Brady. I would never want to speak for him, but you could just tell, or the way he was portrayed on this show, it was just like, man, there's got to be something else in this world, because I've just fallen into this rut of every day waking up doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
That old saying, a lot of men say all the time, I wake up and do the same thing over and over, and it's nothing changes. It's the same stuff every day.
Yeah. No, that phrase, I mean, these are the phrases that I hear when guys come in. Hey, how you doing? Same poop.
Yeah.
Different day, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
I hear phrases like, "I'm just on the treadmill, the treadmill of life." When I am working with a guy and I hear those phrases, I don't ask him to say those; they just start to come out. Is this all there is? I'm on the treadmill, same crap, different day. These are phrases that, when you look at then they actually identify a lot of where that guy is in terms of purpose. Yeah. He's lost the idea of what he's doing has any great value.
Yeah. And I think this, again, not speaking for women, but I think part of this comes because in a lot of ways the man feels beat down, and again, this is just as much as the man's fault it is the wife. But a lot of times you just feel you feel fatigued and frustrated, because it's like, I wake up, I got to take the kids to 4 sports practice, and then when I get home from that, we got to eat dinner, we got to sit down together, and after that, we got to do bedtime stories, and you just get in this rut of every single day doing the same thing, and there's naturally going to be that, like, there has to be more to your marriage, more to your life than just the mundane, everyday stuff that has to get done. Like, those are obviously very important, but I think in that 30 to 50 age range, that's when a lot of times it just gets old. Sometimes it's just you don't have excitement, you don't feel that fulfillment that I think really gets to the point where then it's not the tail wagging the dog, it's the actual dog saying, I want to do this, and I'm going to do it now, and I'm going to have a purpose behind why I'm doing what I'm doing. Yeah,
I mean, here's the risk though. When I start to feel that way, if I don't understand the kind of the misplaced purpose seeking, in other words, okay, I'm not fulfilled, so I'm going to go look elsewhere.
Yep. This
is where I run into guys who are chasing the wind. This is where I see, even in older guys, pornography.
Yep.
Okay. See it like crazy. Affairs.
Yep.
Going outside of that marriage. More alcohol use. Okay, so it's one thing when I'm in my early 20s and I'm out with the boys and I'm going to the bars and playing softball and drinking some beers, but all of a sudden I'm now in my 50s, and when I come home at night, the first thing I'm doing is pouring a drink or grabbing a beer, and I'm not getting drunk every night. I'm drinking every night. It's my thing that just allows me to. I'm just chilling.
I'm escaping.
I'm just chilling. I'm not getting drunk. I'm just chilling, and so I'm going to drop my 3 or 4 or 5 beers in that evening, and I'm going to completely rationalize it in a way that makes it socially acceptable. Right. Okay. So these are the things that we start to see happening. Man, I'll see money dumps. I wish I had some money to dump, let me tell you. I see money dumps. I'll see these guys come in because the money dump is like the big last-ditch effort where all of a sudden, they maybe have made a little bit of money in their life, and maybe they've saved a little bit, and they whatever, they have a couple $100,000 or whatever, and they drop it on something huge, that big expensive, that you know what, I've always wanted that car. Or I've always wanted that house, or I've always wanted something, and they'll do that big money drop.
Yeah.
And, I'm not, listen, I told you, I wish I had that money to drop because that's in me too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I have that desire.
Right.
But what I often find is the guys do the big money drop and they're still 6 months later, they're right back where they were.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to talk about today. Like, okay, let's be careful that we don't get to that point, right? You look at the older guy who's now 60, okay, and he's come through it and he's like, been there, done that, been there, done that, bought the house, bought the car, had the affair, been drunk every night, been there, done that, and it still didn't fulfill.
Yeah, and in preparing for this show, we had talked about, I used to do a ministry called Young Life, and in that ministry, one of the big talks that used to happen is a leader would get up and they would show a glove, and they would have this glove. And
the O.J. Simpson glove?
Not the O.J.
Like, if it doesn't fit, you must have quit. If it doesn't fit.
No. So we would hold up a glove. And what we would do is there's only one thing that fulfills that glove, that makes that glove whole, right? There's only one thing. And what we would do is we would just what we've been talking about. We would take money and we would put money into the glove. And we would take whatever, a little Matchbox car, and we'd throw that in there. We would take alcohol. We would take a condom. Whatever it is, things in life that we try and fulfill that we're like, this is going to make me happy. This is what's going to fulfill me. And just it doesn't. There's only one thing that fulfills that glove and makes that glove whole. And that's, I think, really kind of where we want to transition with this show is we can continue to fulfill that glove, continue to put stuff in that glove. It's just not going to work. It's going to always,
if it's not made for it.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Not that there are bad things to use and to be, to have in your life. But there's only one thing that fits that glove. And I think it goes to the idea that for us as men, for us in a relationship with a wife and having kids, like you can continue to get beat up and continue to have that fatigue and continue to try and fulfill your life with things that are seemingly going to make you happy. Just like Tom Brady, like he's won all these stuff, but he's not happy.
Right.
And I think there's only one thing that fits that glove, and it's going to be the hand of God. And like that's where, like, I don't want to beat around the bush anymore when it comes to, like, that's what's going to fulfill your life.
Yeah.
And yes, I mean, that might be very cliche to say, like, oh, you have God in your life and all is hunky-dory. And I don't think that's the case either. But I think when it comes to seeking and searching for things in your life that are going to give you fulfillment, there's only one thing that's truly going to make you happy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's get into that, because I think, like you said, that can come off as a lot of just cliche stuff. You just need Jesus and you'll be happy. And, without being too silly with that, well, what does that really look like? What do you mean by that? And so let's get into kind of the supportive advice kind of section of this. I do want to read Hebrews 12 verses 1 and 2, okay? And it just is kind of getting that mind right? Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who, for the joy that was set before him, endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. The whole idea of getting our eyes focused on the main thing. Not the other stuff, the sins that we cling to, okay? Because, like I said before, when I'm 30, those are exciting. I don't call them sins, okay? Yeah. When I'm 50, I'm going, what was that about? Yeah. Okay? And so this passage here is just about, like, okay, get yourself focused and set on Christ. To do that, I have to know what Christ was about.
Sure.
Why Christ? Why not Buddha?
Yeah.
Why not Muhammad? Why Christ? And this is that dig in a little deeper, and so that can be, even more exploration in your own growth. But why Christ? And so let's talk a little bit about where we go to this.
Yeah, and one of the cool things about living a life with Christ and having God put his hand in the glove of your heart and, like, completely encircling your heart. Like, God is not calling us to live for today and tomorrow. Like, we've talked about this before. When it comes to like investing in my kids, I'm not doing it for tomorrow. I'm doing it long term, and I think that verse really goes to, it talks about running the race with endurance.
Yes,
like exactly what you were saying before. Like as a younger, in early 20s, you do something because it's excitement right now.
Yeah,
and I think as you mature and grow in your faith, like you learn things that are going to fulfill your life long term. Setting up college funds for your kids, like having vision for your family, like those are the things that's endurance. That's not the immediate, it's fun now and I'll figure out the rest of it later. That's where we have to kind of start to realize that if we really want to take control of our life and take control with allowing God to basically take the wheel of your life and let him drive it, like, man, it's an endurance. It's not that initial right now.
Yeah. So yeah, it is a long haul, and I appreciate that. I've always enjoyed endurance sports, and I think I like them because you have to persevere. Like, there's just something about that intrigues me, and so I like when I'm feeling really, well, I don't like it, but I appreciate when I'm feeling really miserable in the middle of a run or a bike ride, and I'm like, no.
We're pushing through.
No, we're going to push through.
Yeah.
And that's always been kind of a little learning metaphor for me. But let's not beat around the bush. The reason why these guys, that all of us guys struggle, is we have lost purpose. So the very first thing we have to do is we have to understand that the value of purpose. We have to have a greater purpose. And I don't want to make any mistake about it. The purpose early on is all about my satisfaction. Yeah. I mean, that's why we do those things that are exciting and fun, okay? And so right now we're in that position of realizing, just fulfilling myself is not enough, all right? So I think our first challenge out to all you guys is you got to be living for a greater purpose. You got to be living for something bigger, and your family is part of that. Your kids are part of that, but it's even got to be bigger than that.
Yeah.
All right, like, and this is where we get into the churchy stuff. Well, what do you mean bigger than that? God. Okay, our first job. We talk about this all the time. We want God to come in and rescue us and to save us. And God, please make my day better and all this. And, I don't want to demean that. But God made us to be his servants. We are his hands and feet. Oh, yeah. Okay? And so we're always waiting for this like crazy angel to come down from heaven and to rescue us. And it's like, I don't want to call you my angel, but dude, you might be my angel. If I'm in need, I need you to help me. Yeah. Okay? And so when I recognize that God has given me certain talents and gifts and interest and appreciations, when I recognize that and I go, okay, God, wait, I'm pretty good with this, or I'm pretty good with that, or whatever. Now, how can I use that to serve you? And the way I serve you is by serving other people. Yeah. That is where, oh my gosh, that's my purpose. And again, this doesn't mean we all serve the same way. Like, you and I have totally different skill sets, which I really thought you'd have a whole lot more techie skill set than you do. But you, because
I'm a millennial.
Yeah, you're a millennial, and you're supposed to be tech friendly, and you're just like,
I'm not.
No, but our skill sets are different, and we've talked about this before. We get our head wrapped around, well, what's a good skill set and what's a bad skill set. Well, a good skill set, if you allow it to be defined by the schools, is whether you can write a paper or do a math problem. And that is so limited. I mean, each one of us has special skills and talents and insights that our neighbor doesn't have. And when I start to realize, okay, wait, how do I use those to plug into other people? Not myself. I will be fulfilled when I plug into other people. And one of the most rewarding things that I get to do every day is take some of the skills and talents that God blessed me with and say, dude, how can I help you? Yeah. How can I help you? When you see a guy who's 50 years old coming in here and his tail's dragging him down on the floor, and you go, okay, wait, you're not walking out of my office like this, okay? And that I actually have something that can build him up, man, you talk about fulfilling to me. Yeah. And so our very first part of this is just that whole idea of understanding that you were designed for a greater purpose than pleasing yourself. Yeah. If pleasing yourself is where you're at, you're going to come up short.
Yep. And I think this is, especially for men, I know for me, something that fuels me, especially in my line of work, is we have a mission statement. We have a card that I carry in my wallet, and that mission statement what it does is a constant reminder that it's not about me. It's about the greater good of the people that I serve.
Yeah.
And I think it's exactly the same when it comes to that we're there to serve our family and to serve our friends and the fulfillment that comes out of that. And just like you were saying, Merle, we have different skill sets, and in those different skill sets allow us to do things a little bit different. So the mission where I work, we're there to save lives and preserve property. And we do it at a certain cost, but that cost is worth it because I know it's not about me. And if you and I are partners on a fire, you might achieve that mission a little bit different than I do.
Right.
But knowing that the mission is our mission is the same regardless of our different skill sets. And I think it's the exact same when it comes to this idea of challenging, like in our life. Like we have to find a mission. You and your wife have to tack it together. It's going to look a little bit different.
Yeah.
And in that having that mission for you and your family, it's going to look different. You're going to bring certain things to the table that are going to allow you and your family to achieve certain things. Your wife's going to bring certain things. And when you achieve a mission together, again, having that endurance, it's not, your mission shouldn't be based off of what's going to happen tomorrow. Your mission's got to be a long-term mission statement that you and your family have that you can go after again, because that's the exciting thing is when you grow and learn and develop together, a husband and wife, like that's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I like the idea that you're just talking about. Then when I start to discover my gifts and talents, and then I'd also discover and acknowledge yours. So whether it's with your wife or whether it's the guy that you work next to, and now you start to say, well, how do we do this together?
Yeah, you bring out the best in the other one.
Yeah, and now, that's how a football team works, right?
Absolutely.
You got your running back who's 190 pounds, and I got my lineman who's 300 pounds. We don't want to switch roles here, okay?
Right.
We want to ultimately win the game.
Yep.
And you stick in your role, I'll stick in my role, and we'll do this as a team, and we'll win. Yep. And so I think it's really important that we seek out the talents and gifts of other people as well.
Absolutely.
And I think it's important that we tell our kids about that. That we don't allow the school to define what our kids' talents and gifts are. Certainly, that can be easy if your kid does well at school. If your kid doesn't do well at school, you're going to have to go out of your way to say, hey, wait, you were designed a little differently. Okay?
Yeah.
We're going to help you understand what your gifts are and how you can serve better.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, let's talk about, I think if we're trying to change our mentality to not allow the things of the world to dictate how we do things, what better way to do that than to build a legacy? We talked about this all the time when I used to lead, and part of it is maybe a little self-centered, but when you die and go to heaven, how many people are going to wait in line and say, man, what you said to me meant so much.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not that you had to preach the gospel to somebody, but you planted a seed, and then someone took that seed and they watered a little bit, and then someone took that watered seed and they gave it a little sunshine. I think the legacy portion is so cool because when you die, when you're long and gone, what did you stand for? What is your tombstone going to say? What was he was a great father and a great husband. Man, what is your tombstone going to say? What does it say about
that's
you?
A great point.
Because again, if we fall into the everyday mundane stuff of the day, your tombstone is going to say he was a guy who's grumpy. He woke up every day, same stuff, different day, right?
Day. Yeah.
And man, there's so much more to life. There's so much more exciting stuff to discover and develop. Leave a legacy worth living. If we're trying to invest in our kids, I want my girls to hopefully marry somebody that they see worthy to emulate what I showed to their mother.
Yeah.
And that legacy, because to me that's exciting. Again, having that mission statement for me means so much more because I know the legacy that leaves for my kids is huge.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think that legacy building, like you said, we've talked about it before, and part of my legacy as a dad is to look at a dad and a husband is to look at the people around me and to be more aware of how I need to help my kids see their gifts.
Yeah.
So, recognize their gifts. And, at the end of the day, if I can help as a dad, if I can help my kid recognize their gift, they're going to be on greater opportunity for purpose by learning how to use that gift to help serve and be the hands and feet of God. And so I just think that's a great point of when we do talk about legacy building. At the end of the day, when we talk about whether a building is named after me,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's good or bad, but if that didn't serve any purpose but then to get my name on the billboard, that's no, I don't want to be part of that.
Well, because in our current state of our country, in 10 years, you might take
And
Merle
we'll
Hutchinson
take
down.
it down because he said bad words one day. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I think, and how do I help men do this? Well, we talk about who you surround yourself with, who's on your team, that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
And this is that part, you've maybe heard the idea before. Every man needs to have a Paul, a Barnabas, and a Timothy in their life. And that Paul is that guy who's kind of my coach, right?
Yeah.
That guy who's teaching me, who's showing me, who's helping me find my gifts and talents and how to use them to be hands and feet. Okay. And so I need that Paul. Okay. Yeah. The Barnabas, he's the encourager.
Yeah.
He's the guy that I'm shoulder to shoulder with. I'm doing work with him. And he says, man, I'm glad you're on my team. He's the encourager. He's like, I need what you are giving. Okay. Yeah. And you are giving that right back to him. Okay. We need that person in our life. And the Timothy is kind of like with our kids, that younger guy that I'm going to pour into him. I want to be his Paul. I want to be the guy that helps him develop and be full of purpose and understand what he lives for. So, get those people in your life. And you may already have them, but you didn't identify them in that way. But identify them that way. Like, man, I want to pour into these people. That's great stuff.
Yeah, as we kind of move towards hopefully a challenge or some good takeaways from today's show, I definitely want to make sure we are by no means saying that having things in your life, having objects, toys, whatever that looks like for you, is not a bad thing. Again, like as long as you're putting God's hand in that glove first, like everything else will follow suit. Because I think when you start to realize that mission and realize like we're building a legacy that you don't prioritize and you don't put so much focus in on those quote unquote toys, those fun things in your life. Again, those are good things. Like Jenny and I, we want to buy a lake house. And part of the reason why we want to do that, we want to create memories with our girls. Yeah. Like knowing that we're doing this because we want this outcome. When you start to put things in perspective, again, we talk all the time about what is it going to cost. So if you put that lake house ahead of your kid and you use that as an escape to get away from your kids, get away from your wife, like what is the cost there? Yeah. And so again, by no means are we saying toys and fun things are not good. That we would never say that. Like we've had shows before.
No, because we have some.
Yes, we have more than just some. Yes, I mean, like I said, I'm in the process of building a detached garage right now, so I can put a lot of my toys in there. But I just again, we need to put things in perspective, put things in order in your life because again, going back to the Tom Brady, did he put football ahead of his family, and that's why he's feeling a certain way? Did he put football ahead of God? Like maybe that's why he's again. I'm not Tom Brady. I don't want to speak for him, but if you get a chance, go watch that interview on 60 Minutes with Tom Brady, and I think it'll really kind of you'll see his demeanor when he talks about that. But as we move towards kind of a takeaway, a challenge for you guys. Man, if anything that we talked about as far as things that you fulfill your life with jumped out at you and kind of stabbed you right in the heart, like, man, that's me. I hear what they're saying. Man, it's time to do some evaluation.
Yeah. So for our challenge, that's the very first step is, evaluate where you're at, what you're doing, what you're dumping time and money and resources into. And if that phrase comes out of you, it's the same crap, different day. If those kind of things come out of you, if that's that negative attitude that's starting to seep, it's up to you. I don't. It's not going to be cool for you to blame your unhappiness on the pathway that you had an opportunity to steer. Yeah. Okay, is your tail wagging you, or are you going to grab hold of that tail and you're going to determine direction? And so part of our challenge here is for you to make that assessment. I think it's also a good part of this challenge is just be real with yourself and assess your own gifts and talents. Like, okay, so what are you doing with the gifts and talents you have? And this idea that, well, I'm just not good at anything. No. Okay, no. Like God has made each of us with these gifts and talents where somewhere we can build somebody else up. We can be the hands and feet.
Absolutely.
Okay. If you're into construction, man, there's no limit to how many people you can help. If you're into making money, if you're good with speaking, or you just have a good heart for people, I mean, it's endless. So let's not diminish any of our skills. Let's recognize them and start to think, man, how can I really build into other people be either the Paul, the Barnabas, or the Timothy.
Yep. And as we kind of get ready to close out the show, I would really encourage you guys. When we talk about building that legacy and having a mission for you and your family, man, you can't do it on your own.
Yeah.
Just like you were saying, finding other people, get together with your wife, like build a mission statement for your family. Like, what do you want your family to stand for? When you and your wife are long gone, what type of legacy do you want to leave for your kids? Because again, when you make things more than just about you and what's going on today, running that race with endurance, that long term, man, life is so much more fun. You get so much more fulfillment out of it, especially when you again, going back to that glove analogy, when you realize that all that stuff you stuff into each of those finger holes, when you pull those out and put something that actually really fits in there and fits in there exactly the way it's supposed to, that's when life gets...
Now I'm on purpose.
That's when you have purpose. That's when you get satisfaction out of life. That's when you don't say, same stuff, different day. Like, that's when you're like, man, it's a new day. I'm excited because I get to invest more in people and serve people and invest my time in stuff.
Yeah. That's good. Good stuff. Okay, so we do want to close things out. We want to thank Crimer's Beer House for continuing to be one of our sponsors, along with Mansfield Insurance. We just thank those guys for coming alongside of us, being our supporters. Strong Dads is continuing to be strong. If we can help you guys in any way, please reach out to us at 812-576-7625. You can reach me at hutch@rocksolidfamilies.org. I also want to put a plug in for our Strong Dads Saturday morning Bible study workout. We're having a great time in there. That's open to any guy who wants to come, and we have a lot of fun in there.
I probably should come, Merle.
Yeah, it's Strong Dads, Kyle.
Oh, I'm pretty weak right now. I'm getting stronger, Cameron.
You are, yeah, that's good.
I'm drinking water now for the first time in my life. So
you're gonna get sick. Be careful. All right, sign us out, dude.
Absolutely, definitely appreciate you guys. Go out there and be some strong dads.
Hey, this is Merle Hutchinson from Strong Dads. Strong Dads wants to thank Mansfield Insurance Agency in Bright, Indiana for sponsoring today's Strong Dads podcast. Established in 1981, the Mansfield Insurance Agency has been dedicated to the individuals and businesses in Bright, Indiana, serving clients throughout Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky.